Has someone close to you recently begun to change in ways that feel difficult to explain? Perhaps they've grown quieter, weaker, or somehow distant. Many people assume that when an elderly person passes away, it happens quickly, almost without warning. But in reality, the body rarely leaves this world without giving signs, gentle, quiet signs, that its systems are winding down. These signs are not dramatic. They do not shout. Instead, they whisper through small shifts in appetite, energy, mood, and even breath. Unfortunately, those whispers are often missed. We brush off changes as just old age, or assume it's simply fatigue or a passing phase. It's only in hindsight that many families look back and realize the clues were there all along, and by then, it may be too late to prepare practically, to say the words that needed saying, or to spend the time that could have mattered most. In this guide, we're going to explore 6 profound signs that often appear during the final year of an elderly person's life. Some of them may be familiar, others might be new to you, but all of them serve as gentle warnings that the body is entering its last phase. Not necessarily in days or weeks, but often many months ahead. Understanding these signs can help you move from confusion to clarity. It can help you provide better care, create meaningful moments, and approach this stage of life not with fear or panic, but with dignity, tenderness, and preparedness. You'll discover not only what to watch for, but why these changes occur, and how to respond with both compassion and practical wisdom. This is not about giving up. It's about showing up fully, even in the face of loss. It's about ensuring that those you love do not feel rushed, overlooked, or left alone as their time draws near. So, if you're caring for an aging parent, a grandparent, or a dear friend in their later years, or if you're simply preparing for what may come, this conversation is for you. Stay with us until the end, because what you learn today could help you bring peace, meaning, and comfort to someone you love when they need it most. And if you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and be part of a growing community where we share stories, insights, and compassionate wisdom for life's most important chapters. Let's begin. The aging body is remarkably wise. Long before its final chapter, it begins to prepare, silently, gently, and with purpose. But unlike the sudden events we often associate with medical emergencies, the process of dying in old age is usually more gradual. It's a slow shift, not an abrupt break. A process, not a moment. What makes this transition so difficult to recognize is how subtle it can be. The signs don't arrive with urgency. They slip into daily life, disguised as tiredness, forgetfulness, or changes in appetite. To the untrained eye, these signals blend into the background of normal aging. But for those who know what to look for, these signs can become gentle markers, giving us a chance to respond with love, preparation, and thoughtful care. To understand why these changes matter, it helps to understand the body's priorities in its final year. As organ systems begin to slow down, the body instinctively conserves energy. It starts directing its remaining strength toward only the most vital functions: breathing, circulation, and brain activity. Meanwhile, less critical systems like digestion, mobility, and immunity begin to lose efficiency. This is not failure, it's biology working as it was designed. Imagine a town preparing for a long winter. As resources grow scarce, the town redirects energy to its core buildings: the hospital, the power plant, and city hall. The rest, public parks, storefronts, even some schools, begin to close early. The sidewalks aren't cleared as often. The street lights may flicker. It's not chaos, it's conservation. In the same way, when the human body enters its final phase, it begins shutting down non-essential functions. This doesn't mean the person is dying tomorrow or even next week. In fact, these signs can begin appearing many months, even a full year before death. But once they start showing consistently, they often indicate that the body is gradually preparing for its natural end. This understanding helps remove fear. It gives us language for what's happening. It allows families to stop guessing and start gently planning, emotionally, practically, and relationally. Now that we've laid the foundation, let's explore the first major sign, a change that often begins so quietly, many people miss it until it becomes impossible to ignore. Let's talk about weight loss. One of the earliest and most telling signs that a person may be approaching the final year of life is noticeable weight loss that occurs without intention. It often begins slowly. A belt that once fit snugly now needs a new hole. Favorite clothes begin to hang loosely on the body. A once hearty appetite begins to fade into polite refusals and untouched plates. For many families, these changes are easily explained away. She's just not as hungry lately, they say. He's eating lighter these days. It may even be welcomed at first, especially in a culture that often associates thinness with health. But when an elderly individual starts to lose weight without trying, it is almost always worth paying close attention. The human body, as it nears the final stages of life, gradually reduces its ability to absorb and process nutrients. This means that even if the person eats a regular meal, their body may not be pulling what it needs from the food. Muscle begins to break down, and lean body mass is lost more rapidly than before. The process of digestion itself requires energy. And when the body starts conserving energy for more vital functions, digestion is one of the first systems to slow. Another contributing factor is appetite. As the end of life approaches, a person's desire to eat can decrease dramatically. This isn't a matter of preference or mood, it's a biological shift. The signals that once traveled from the stomach to the brain telling us we're hungry, that we want our favorite dish, begin to fade. Taste buds dull. The smell of food no longer entices. Meals become less satisfying, less urgent, and eventually less frequent. This fading appetite is one of the clearest signs that the body is preparing for transition. It's not just that the person doesn't want to eat. It's that their body no longer needs or asks for the same level of fuel. Eating becomes an act of habit or courtesy rather than necessity. Families often respond by trying to tempt the appetite, offering favorite foods, comfort meals, or nutritional supplements like protein shakes. While these gestures are made with love and good intention, they sometimes cause more stress than relief. For someone in this stage of life, the pressure to eat more, finish the plate, or just try a few more bites can feel overwhelming. It's important to understand that this kind of weight loss isn't simply a dietary issue, it's a systemic signal. When an elderly person loses weight consistently over several weeks or months, despite reasonable meals and efforts to nourish them, it often means the body is transitioning away from growth and maintenance. It is no longer trying to build muscle or store energy. It is focusing on preservation and preparing to let go. This stage can be difficult for loved ones to witness. Watching a once strong, vibrant individual become frail and lighter with each passing week often brings feelings of helplessness or even guilt. But accepting this process does not mean giving up. It means shifting the focus from insisting on nourishment to providing comfort. Small, soft meals, favorite snacks, even if they're no longer nutritious by traditional standards, warm tea, popsicles, sips of soup. These can offer not only physical relief but emotional reassurance. In this stage, food is no longer about calories. It's about care. Weight loss in the final year is more than a number on a scale. It is a signal that the body and the person within it is beginning to move towards something deeper. And when we understand that signal, not as defeat, but as part of life's natural rhythm, we can respond with compassion, patience, and peace. As the body moves into its final phase, another profound change often emerges. One that touches not just the physical realm, but the emotional and relational too. This change is deep fatigue, not the kind of tiredness that follows a long day or a poor night's sleep, but something more enduring, more complete. This kind of fatigue is not relieved by rest. Naps grow longer, but they no longer refresh. Sleep becomes more frequent, yet still, the person feels tired. Tasks that were once effortless, getting dressed, walking across the room, preparing a simple meal, now require significant effort. What's happening here is more than a loss of energy, it's a redirection of energy. As organ systems begin to slow, the body prioritizes only what it considers most essential: movement, digestion, alertness. These fall lower on the list, while the heart, lungs, and brain take precedence. This internal budgeting of energy is subtle at first, but gradually it reshapes the person's entire day. In the final year of life, the body begins to protect itself. It pulls inward. Instead of pushing through, it slows down. Instead of powering forward, it waits. And this instinct, though frustrating to witness, is not a weakness. It's a biological wisdom. One of the hardest parts of this fatigue is how it affects identity. Many elderly individuals, especially those who were once independent and active, feel deep frustration as their capacity shrinks. They may begin to withdraw, not because they no longer love their routines or relationships, but because they simply don't have the stamina to engage in the same way. You may notice them sitting quietly in a chair they used to rise from easily. They may stop participating in conversations, not out of disinterest, but because listening and responding take more effort than before. Reading the newspaper becomes difficult. Even watching television might feel overstimulating. Emotionally, this can lead to a sense of defeat. Some people may say, "I just can't do what I used to," or they may stop commenting altogether. Others may become irritable or withdrawn, not because they are upset with you, but because they're grappling with their own internal transformation. For family members and caregivers, this can be one of the most painful signs to witness. It's natural to want to encourage activity. "Let's go for a walk," we say. "Come join us at the table." We think that if we can just lift their spirits or motivate them enough, they'll bounce back. But the truth is, pushing someone who is in this state may cause more harm than help. What they need most is understanding. Instead of urging more activity, we can offer acceptance. If they need rest, let them rest. If they can only manage 10 minutes of conversation, treasure those 10 minutes without asking for 20. This is a time for stillness, for companionship without expectation, simply sitting beside them, holding their hand, or quietly listening as they speak. These become acts of profound care. It's easy to underestimate how much energy the body uses just to stay alive during this phase. Every heartbeat, every breath, every internal function requires effort. What once felt small, like walking to the window, now demands everything they have. This is not laziness. This is not giving up. It's the body's way of signaling, "I'm preparing, I'm slowing down, I'm turning inward." And when we meet that slowing with patience, when we stop asking for more and start offering comfort, we allow them the grace to rest in peace, not only in the final moment, but in the many moments leading up to it. Let's now explore a sign that is less visible to the eye, but often just as powerful. A shift in the way the mind thinks, remembers, and relates to the world around it. Let's now explore a sign that is less visible to the eye, but often just as powerful. A shift in the way the mind thinks, remembers, and relates to the world around it. As the physical body begins its quiet retreat, the mind often follows in its own way. One of the more subtle but deeply meaningful signs that a person may be in their final year is a gradual shift in cognitive clarity and emotional presence. This change can feel confusing, even alarming, for loved ones who remember a sharper, more engaged version of the person they now see. You may begin to notice forgetfulness that goes beyond the typical lapses of aging. A loved one who never had trouble with names now stumbles over familiar ones. Someone who once told stories with precision now repeats themselves, forgets details, or loses their train of thought mid-sentence. There may be moments of confusion in familiar spaces, hesitating at doorways, forgetting the day of the week, or misplacing objects in unexpected places. But what's especially challenging about this sign is that it rarely arrives all at once. Instead, it comes in waves. There may be moments of complete lucidity, clear conversation, laughter, warmth, followed by hours or days of mental fog. Families often describe this stage as coming and going, where the person seems entirely themselves one day and distant or disengaged the next. These cognitive changes are not random. The brain, like every other organ, relies on a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients to function well. But as circulation becomes less efficient and the body begins redirecting its energy, the brain receives less support. Focus, memory, and awareness naturally decline. This doesn't always mean a diagnosis like dementia or Alzheimer's, although those conditions can also be present. What we're describing here is different. It's a gradual dimming, a gentle letting go. The brain is no longer trying to manage daily complexity. It's conserving its resources for only the most essential interactions. Emotional withdrawal often accompanies this process. You may notice that your loved one speaks less, initiates fewer conversations, or stops showing interest in activities they once enjoyed. Phone calls go unanswered, hobbies are set aside, even long-standing family rituals like evening tea or watching a favorite show may begin to lose their appeal. This withdrawal can feel personal, but it isn't. It's not a sign that they've stopped caring. It's a sign that their internal world is becoming more dominant than the external one. Engaging with others requires energy, attention, and emotional capacity, resources the body is slowly reallocating. Some individuals become quieter, others more irritable or anxious. You might notice them staring into space or retreating to a corner of the room. Loud environments may feel overwhelming. Group conversations might seem too fast or confusing. These changes are not something they can control. They're not pulling away because they want to. It's simply that the way they experience reality is changing. In this stage, one of the most important things we can offer is presence, not pressure. Instead of asking them to talk more, go out, or re-engage with routines, we can meet them where they are. Sit beside them, speak gently, be patient when silence stretches on. Even if they don't respond the way they used to, your presence still matters. Even if they can't say, "I love you" back, they may still feel the warmth in your voice, the comfort of your hand in theirs, the familiarity of your presence in the room. It's in these quieter stages that many families begin to feel a sense of anticipatory grief. It feels as if you're losing the person before they're truly gone, and in some ways you are, but this too is part of the process. Letting go doesn't always happen in a single moment. Sometimes it happens slowly, through pauses in conversation, through fading recognition, through the long, quiet hours when they seem far away. And yet, even in this distance, connection remains possible. Love does not rely on perfect words. It does not require complete awareness. Love lives in tone, in touch, in the simple act of showing up and staying. Next, we'll turn our attention to a more visible but equally meaningful sign of decline: the body's growing vulnerability to illness and injury, and what it tells us about the deeper shift already underway. As the body gradually approaches its final stages, one of the clearest physical indicators of this transition is a noticeable change in how it responds to illness and injury. You may begin to observe that your loved one, who once rarely caught a cold or bounced back quickly from a scrape, now seems to get sick more often and stays sick longer. This is not mere coincidence. It is a signal that the immune system, once strong and responsive, is now weakening. The body no longer has the same ability to defend itself, to recover from what used to be minor irritations or infections. The resilience that once protected them begins to fade, leaving them more exposed to illness and more vulnerable to complications that previously would have passed quickly. Common illnesses, such as urinary tract infections, pneumonia, or even skin infections, start to appear with greater frequency, and they tend to linger. Treatments that once worked efficiently may now take longer to take effect, or require multiple rounds. Antibiotics that were once reliable may seem less effective. Even small wounds, a scratch, a bruise, a pressure sore, may heal much more slowly than expected. Sometimes they don't heal at all, reopening again and again. Despite careful attention, the skin becomes thinner, circulation slows, oxygen and nutrients have a harder time reaching the areas that need repair. It is tempting during this time to fight harder, to schedule more doctor visits, to try stronger medications, to keep chasing the recovery that no longer comes. Families often do this from a place of love and hope, unwilling to accept what these lingering infections and injuries truly mean. But what we must understand is that this repeated cycle of illness is not simply bad luck. It's a message, a biological message that the body is no longer working to repair itself in the way it used to. It is slowly shifting its purpose from recovery to rest, from rebuilding to releasing. In elderly individuals nearing life's end, infections may also present differently. You may not see the classic signs like fever or chills. Instead, your loved one may seem more tired than usual, more confused, or suddenly less interested in eating. Mental changes are often the first signal that something isn't right. If an elder who was previously alert becomes disoriented overnight, or if they seem unusually drowsy or disengaged, this may be an early sign of infection, even before any physical symptoms appear. This is why attentiveness becomes so important in this stage. Rather than treating every new illness with urgency, some families find peace in shifting their focus from curing the illness to soothing the discomfort it brings. Gentle care becomes the priority, keeping the body clean and hydrated, applying lotion to dry skin, creating a quiet, low-stress environment that supports comfort over intervention. This doesn't mean giving up. It means honoring the body's direction. It means choosing peace, especially when treatment only extends discomfort without truly improving quality of life. Pressure sores, for example, become more common in this stage, not because of neglect, but because the person may no longer have the strength or desire to move frequently. Gentle repositioning, soft pillows, and moisture control become more important than ever. In this period, every act of care becomes an act of love. A cool cloth on a warm forehead, a clean bedsheet, a hand softly holding another during a restless night. These quiet gestures matter far more than medications ever could. When we understand that frequent infections are not just medical events but signs of a larger transition, we're better able to respond not with fear or panic, but with calm, steady presence. Now let's take a closer look at one of the most intimate and telling signals of all: the way breathing and circulation change when the body begins to release its final hold on life. One of the most profound and visible signs that the body is nearing its natural end is a noticeable shift in breathing and circulation. These changes often arrive gradually, giving families the opportunity to prepare if they know how to interpret what they're seeing. You may begin to notice that your loved one breathes more shallowly, more slowly, or less rhythmically than before. There might be longer pauses between breaths. In some cases, breathing becomes irregular, sometimes speeding up unexpectedly, then slowing down again. This pattern, known medically as Cheyne-Stokes respiration, is quite common in the final months or weeks of life. It can sound unsettling, but it is a natural part of the body's transition. Rather than panicking at these sounds or patterns, it helps to understand what's causing them. The brain's respiratory centers, which regulate how and when we breathe, receive less input as circulation slows. The result is an inconsistent rhythm as the body tries to balance oxygen intake with its decreasing energy needs. This breathing pattern is not painful. Most individuals in this stage are unaware of the shifts. In fact, many are in a deeply relaxed or lightly unconscious state during periods of irregular breathing. For family members, it's a chance to soften their own responses, to sit close and offer reassurance through touch or whispered comfort. In addition to changes in breath, circulation also begins to shift dramatically. Blood flow is redirected away from the extremities, the hands, feet, nose, and ears, and focused on the core, where vital organs remain active the longest. You might notice that the person's hands and feet become cool to the touch. Their skin may look pale or even bluish, especially around the fingertips or lips. The patterning or modeling of the skin, where light and dark areas appear, almost like a lace-like web, is another common sign. These visual changes can be startling if you're not expecting them, but again, they are not signs of suffering, they are signs of slowing. The body is conserving its last reserves of energy, prioritizing the most essential processes, and beginning to let go. Some individuals also experience shortness of breath even while at rest. They may begin to breathe through their mouth more often, or you might hear a faint rattling or gurgling sound when they inhale. This is sometimes called the death rattle, though the name can feel harsh. What's important to understand is that this sound is not typically painful. It is simply caused by a buildup of fluid that the person is no longer able to swallow or clear effectively. To ease this stage, small comforts can make a significant difference. Gently propping the person up with pillows can help their lungs expand more easily. A cool room, a soft fan, or a clean, moist washcloth on the forehead can offer relief. Some families find that a humidifier or a small sip of water brings calm, not to fix the breath, but to support the person through it. When these signs appear, it's natural for loved ones to feel a sense of urgency, an impulse to call out, to act, to fix. But often, what's most needed is presence. This is not a moment for panic. It is a moment for being fully there, quietly, calm. These changes in breathing and circulation are not setbacks, they are steps. Steps in a process that has its own wisdom, its own timing, and its own grace. They tell us that the body is preparing, that time is becoming precious, and so we shift again from observation to intention, from fixing to feeling, from urgency to quiet. So there is, however, one more sign worth recognizing, one that may not show up in medical charts or physical symptoms, but often becomes just as clear to those who are watching with open hearts. It's the sense that the person is, in their own way, beginning to say goodbye. Let's talk about that next. Not all signs of approaching death come in the form of medical changes. Some appear more softly spoken through emotion, behavior, or even silence. In the final year of life, many elderly individuals begin to show signs of emotional and spiritual readiness, a kind of internal acceptance that often precedes physical decline. This shift can be difficult to describe, but for those who witness it, it feels unmistakable. You may notice that your loved one starts talking differently about the past, about people long gone, or about life's larger meaning. They may reminisce more often, telling stories from decades ago with vivid clarity, even if recent memories are fading. These reflections are more than nostalgia. They are, in many cases, a way of making peace, a gentle inventory of what has mattered most. Others may express a desire to put things in order. This might include organizing old photos, writing letters, or quietly giving away personal belongings. These acts aren't just practical, they're symbolic. It's a way of passing things forward, of saying without words, I won't be needing this soon. Let it continue with someone I love. You may also hear more expressions of forgiveness, offering it, asking for it, or quietly granting it in ways that feel unexpected or long overdue. These moments are sacred. They often surface not because of external prompting, but because the person feels time differently. They are beginning to close the chapters of their life, one by one. Some individuals express this readiness through questions. Will I be remembered? Was I a good father? Did I live a good life? These are not cries for reassurance. They are quiet invitations for connection, for honesty, for presence. They are not seeking answers so much as a listening ear. At times, the person may become unusually calm. Even if they were once anxious about death or resistant to change, you might find them entering a state of acceptance. They may seem more at peace, more settled, even as their body continues to weaken. In contrast, others may experience a brief period of emotional agitation, a sudden need to move, to get up, to talk with people who are not there. Some speak to loved ones who have already passed as though they are present in the room. While this may seem troubling at first, it is not necessarily a sign of confusion. For many, this is part of a spiritual transition, one foot in this world, one foot in another. These moments are not hallucinations. They are, in many traditions and experiences, deeply meaningful. Whether one views them through a spiritual, psychological, or biological lens, they signal something important. The boundary between life and death is becoming thinner. As caregivers, family, or friends, our role in this stage is not to correct, or challenge these experiences, but to accompany them. Sit quietly, offer a soft word, let them talk about dreams, or people they see, or thoughts they feel drawn to share. This is also a time for you to share your heart. If there are words you've been holding back, words of love, gratitude, or forgiveness, this is the moment to speak them. Don't wait for the right time or the perfect clarity. Say what matters while you can. Even if your loved one no longer responds in full sentences, even if their eyes are closed or they appear to sleep, research and experience alike suggests that hearing is often one of the last senses to fade. Your voice can still reach them. It's in this space, when the mind quiets, when the breath slows, when the weight of life is gradually lifted, that dignity takes its fullest form, not in what we do, but in how we are with them, not in fixing, but in loving. And when we recognize emotional and spiritual readiness as one of the final signs, we can stop fearing what lies ahead and start walking with them gently through the final steps of their journey. Now let us gather all we've learned and reflect on what it means not only for those we care for, but for ourselves. As we come to the end of this guide, let us pause to gently gather the wisdom of what we've explored. Not in a rush to conclude, but in reverence for the journey we've taken together, through the subtle signs that so often go unnoticed, yet speak with quiet power when we learn to listen. We've seen how the body begins to prepare long before death arrives. We've talked about unexplained weight loss, a signal that the body is no longer absorbing nutrients as before, and that appetite fades not by choice, but by biological design. We've examined deep fatigue and weakness, where the simplest tasks become mountains, not because of laziness or willpower, but because the body is wisely conserving its last reserves. We've looked closely at cognitive changes and emotional withdrawal, the fading of memory, attention, and social connection, not as rejection, but as a shift inward toward peace and preservation. We've recognized the body's increasing vulnerability to infection and its slowing ability to heal, a sign that the immune system is letting go and that comfort begins to matter more than cure. We've gently acknowledged the changes in breathing and circulation, those visible, sometimes startling signs that the body is redirecting its flow, choosing rest, choosing stillness. And we've opened our hearts to emotional and spiritual readiness, those moments when a person begins to say goodbye, to seek closure, to offer and receive love in ways deeper than words. These signs do not come all at once. They do not follow a single timeline, but when we begin to notice 2, 3, or more of them appearing consistently, we are being given something precious. A chance to prepare, a chance to say the things we might otherwise regret not saying, a chance to offer our presence, not as rescuers, but as companions. In the face of death, we often want to do something, fix something, reverse something. But what this stage of life asks of us is far more tender: to be patient, to be listening, to be loving, to be still. And in that stillness, in that unhurried, unforced care, we offer the one thing our loved one may need most: a sense of peace. Because in the end, what comforts a person is not how hard we fought to keep them here. It is how gently we help them go. To those who are walking this road now, with a mother, a father, a spouse, a sibling, or a dear friend, know that you are not alone. Countless others have walked this same path, felt this same ache, faced this same quiet turning of life's final season. There is no perfect way to do this, only loving ways. So let your love speak not only through words, but through silence, through presence, through the steady hands that fold blankets and hold cups and wipe foreheads at midnight. And let that love be enough, because truly it is. Before you go, if this message spoke to you or helped you better understand what you or a loved one may be experiencing, we invite you to join our community by subscribing. Here, we talk about life's most meaningful transitions with honesty, compassion, and clarity. Whether you're just beginning this journey or walking its final steps, you are welcome here. And if you feel moved to share, leave a comment below. What is one insight you'll take with you from today? How do you plan to apply it in your own life or in the care of someone you love? Your words may bring comfort to someone else who needs it right now. Thank you for spending this time with us. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and those you love.